It's Monday, September 28th, and this is now on HNN.
The support my administration is providing would allow every state to, on a very regular basis, test every teacher who needs it.
The federal government plans to ship millions of rapid COVID-19 tests to states in a push to reopen schools.
Trans-Pacific travel is set to resume soon, but inter-island travel plans are still unclear.
We will catch about 70% of any minimally or asymptomatic people.
A bombshell New York Times report gives a closer look into President Trump's closely guarded financial history. I'm Deborah Alfarone at the White House with details.
You're losing track now. There's so many of them, you can't keep track.
Wildfires cause more destruction in California. I'm Chris Martinez with how the weather is making fighting the flames difficult.
These stories, plus an update on those sharks that have been hanging out at Kaimana's, coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon on this Monday. Jonathan and Ashley coming to you from the HNN Digital Center. Want to get started with those latest coronavirus numbers.
Health officials are reporting 90 new COVID-19 cases today. We're told all cases are on Oahu. DOH is also finally classifying 21 deaths from the Yukio-Okutsu State Veterans Home in Hilo as COVID fatalities, bringing Hawaii's death toll to 153. Also new at noon, President Trump just announced a plan to deploy millions of rapid coronavirus tests to states across the nation to help with school reopening efforts. But experts warn they are less accurate and harder to track than older laboratory tests.
Today I'm pleased to report that we're announcing our plan to distribute 150 million Abbott rapid point-of-care tests in the coming weeks, very, very soon. This will be more than double the number of tests already performed. And here's our plan. 50 million tests will go to protect the most vulnerable communities, which we've always promised to do, including 18 million for nursing homes, 15 million for assisted living facilities, 10 million for home health and hospice care agencies, and nearly 1 million for historically black colleges and universities, and also tribal nation colleges. 100 million rapid point-of-care tests will be given to states and territories to support efforts to reopen their economies and schools immediately and fast as they can. For example, the support my administration is providing would allow every state to, on a very regular basis, test every teacher who needs it. This continues our critical effort to use testing to protect high-risk communities. These new Abbott rapid point-of-care tests are easy to use and return results within just minutes. You'll have a result at a maximum 15 minutes. No machine is required to process them. So in the old days when we just started this, you remember we'd go out and we'd have to find these massive laboratories with tremendously expensive equipment. Now we're down to something that you'll see that is really from a different planet.
Meanwhile, a devastating second wave of coronavirus has sent the number of cases across Europe soaring again, and it comes as the global death toll from the virus reaches nearly 1 million. Riley Carlson reports from London.
India is reporting new coronavirus cases faster than any other country, over 6 million, and there are concerns it will soon surpass the number of infections in the U.S., the hardest hit country in the world. With the high number of infections, the government should take some big steps, says this man. But new government restrictions are becoming a source of frustration elsewhere. Bars and restaurants in major French cities have had to close early. In the port city of Marseille, they have to close altogether. Hospital beds are filling up with the highest number of patients since June, and there are fears intensive care units will be overwhelmed. In London, many are protesting against new government control measures as the infection rate climbs. Thousands of university students have been told to self-isolate amid outbreaks. Many classes have now gone online.
It's just really rough at the moment, and we're just really disheartened by the whole entire situation.
Some lawmakers are already questioning if they'll be allowed to travel home for Christmas. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Lieutenant Governor Josh Green says the recent drop in state cases is a game changer and a positive sign for expanding travel in the near future. Our Jolani Martinez reports.
Lieutenant Governor Josh Green feels it is safe to lift the inter-island quarantine rule for travelers. Restrictions that the mayors will have to weigh in with Governor Ige.
Cases are flattening. We've been averaging closer to 100 cases a day as opposed to 250 a day, which is where we were 3 weeks ago.
The state's pre-travel testing program is set to launch on October 15th. Travelers must test negative no more than 3 days prior to departing to avoid the 14-day quarantine. Although there are concerns of people contracting COVID on the plane, Green says the chances are slim.
My expectation, and I think it's a real expectation, is that we will catch about 70% of any minimally or asymptomatic people. And also, people are not going to travel if they're really sick.
Hawaii County Mayor Harry Kim says they've also looked into applying the testing program to inter-island travel.
However, I am told that that's at this point not very practical, or better yet, not even possible, because availability of testing, if you times the number of tourists that may come in and need testing or inter-island travel, there's just not enough testing to do that.
But I don't think it's going to be particularly high yield. As you saw with our testing, where we did the surge testing, very low numbers of people were positive, and they were all asymptomatic.
Maui Mayor Michael Victorino says they hope to have an announcement approved by the governor by Wednesday. He says they want to shorten quarantine to less than the current 14 days. Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
There have been a lot of new developments with Honolulu's embattled rail project. And to help us digest everything, we are joined now by Hawaii News Now's managing editor, Daryl Huff, who is working from home today. Hey, Daryl.
Morning.
Good morning. So the latest thing that happened was the city decided to abandon its plan to secure a public-private partnership for the last leg of the rail project, which is Middle Street to Ala Moana. What does this mean?
The one thing to understand about that contract or that bidding process, it was also for who operate the system for 30 years, right? So that's where the developer would ultimately make its profit, is over time, bringing in revenue from the city, collecting revenue, operating the system. That's where their profit would come. So this contract was going to be huge, not just for building a segment, but going out 30 years of operations. It was extremely complicated and kind of risky because the rest of the project has been built in a traditional way, where you design it and then you hire someone to build it and they bid the low bidder and all this. This would have been much more collaborative between the rail board, the city, and the developer. The problem was the city was already going to be taking over the project and operating it for the next 30 years. They already had a contractor to do some of that operations. So it was an extremely complicated negotiation that had to take place. And the city was a key partner because eventually, soon, Hart will fold and the city will take over. So the city had to be part of this. So the city pulling out essentially made it impossible to pull this deal off. Now, Hart is sticking to its guns and saying, no, we still think this is the best way to do this. Right now, everything is in limbo.
So another thing that happened was CEO Andy Robbins. His job was kind of in limbo too, but the Hart board decided not to fire him before his contract expired. What happened there?
No one knows exactly what happened because this is a personnel process and it's supposed to be private for the most part, but it did kind of blow up in a public session. The chairman of the board sent out an email to a lot of people, so it hit the media, that said, we're not going to be extending the CEO's contract beyond the end of the year. And it said that was the recommendation of the Human Resources Committee. One of the interesting things is on the Human Resource Committee is the city's transportation director. So the city was negotiating over this big bid and maybe knowing something about what's going on there while they were overseeing and evaluating the CEO. So then at the last minute, though, a couple people said, no, I don't think this is the right time to change horses. So there was a lot of pressure on the board from legislators and so on who were backing him up not to let him go. but they didn't also officially extend him either. So, that's going to be another meeting at another time. And so right now he's still on the job.
So how do these new developments, how do you think it'll play out in the upcoming mayor's race?
These are two candidates who are pro-rail, basically. So I don't think you're going to see either one of them say, oh, we got to call a halt. It's too mixed up. They're going to be very much in the middle of deciding the way forward. They'll be asked, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And they'll be forced to maybe make some more specific statements about how they think the project needs to be changed or what it's going to take really to get this done.
Hawaii News Now Managing Editor Daryl Huff. Thank you for joining us, Daryl.
Pleasure. See you later.
Back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, guys. We'll stay on top of that story for sure, but we want to keep talking politics right here on This Is Now. The New York Times says it has obtained more than 2 decades of President Trump's tax return data. Data his critics say he spent years trying to conceal. Deborah Alfarone reports from the White House.
President Trump is blasting the New York Times report that claims he paid just $750 in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017.
Totally fake news. No, actually, I paid tax. And you'll see that as soon as my tax returns. It's under audit. They've been under audit for a long time.
The report shows he paid nothing at all in 10 out of 15 years, largely because his many namesake businesses reported losing much more money than they made, including his golf courses. The report also shows Mr. Trump took tax deductions on what some people would consider personal expenses, including housing, aircraft, and $70,000 in hairstyling for television appearances. And even though President Trump vowed to no longer pursue any new businesses once elected, the Times reports he made $73 million from foreign deals during his first 2 years in the White House. The president has also reportedly benefited from a nearly $73 million tax refund, which is now the subject of a decade-long IRS audit. And he reportedly has hundreds of millions in debt due in the coming years. An attorney for the Trump Organization tells CBS News that the New York Times story is, quote, riddled with gross inaccuracies. He says that the president has paid tens of millions of dollars in personal taxes to the federal government over the past decade. Shortly after the Times report, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer tweeted, "Raise your hand if you paid more in federal income tax than President Trump." And Joe Biden's presidential campaign released this commercial. Mr. Trump is the only president in modern history to not release his tax returns. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Honolulu police are searching for a gunman following a deadly shooting in Nanakuli. EMS was called to Hakimo Road about 10 a.m. yesterday and found a 28-year-old man dead. Sources say he was shot multiple times. Witnesses told police the shooter, who was in his 20s, was wearing a long-sleeved black shirt and shorts and fled in a silver Nissan. There may have been 2 other people with him. If you have any tips, please call Crime Stoppers. Hawaii is now getting new layoff notices almost every day. Howard Dykes explains.
The notices range from 826 at United Laundry Services to 181 at Paradise Cove to a bunch of hotels and timeshares, 400 plus at 3 Marriotts, nearly 800 at Diamond Resorts, 850 at Outrigger. Mike White at the Ka'anapali Beach, the dean of Hawaii Hotel GMs, says he's keeping up medical coverage at least through the end of January in hopes he can bring his people back, but no one really knows. Senator Brian Schatz is asking Governor Ige to do more to prevent COVID outbreaks in nursing homes. The letter is polite and thanks Ige twice for his hard work, but it also says Schatz has yet to get a reply to concerns he raised back in May. Ige recently replaced his COVID response leadership. October 15 reopening is essential to economic recovery, but don't expect immediate success. CVS, identified as a key state partner for giving COVID tests, says it will require reservations on a website that isn't up yet. As Christmas gift season approaches, retailers are offering corporate gift options. It's a major piece of business for local candy companies, and we're now told Mana Up will be doing it again for the local retailers that it nurtures.
Developing news now, strong winds are driving new, fast-moving wildfires in Northern California's wine country. We've got Chris Martinez with the very latest developments.
Strong winds are driving a fast-moving wildfire in California's Napa County.
Another beautiful day in the Napa Valley. Just unbelievable.
The fire, about 60 miles north of San Francisco, is threatening hundreds of homes and decades-old wineries.
The glass fire grew substantially overnight, roughly 800 acres to 11,000 acres.
It is also prompting thousands of evacuations, including this retirement community.
A lot of consternation in and around that region that has been hit over and over and over again over the course of the last number of years.
Sweltering temperatures and dry, gusty winds are also fueling the Zog fire in Shasta County. That fire started Sunday and has incinerated several homes and other structures.
Here in Southern California, a red flag warning is in effect, which means there's a high risk for fires.
Fires continue to burn in Southern California. The El Dorado fire in San Bernardino County has been blazing for 23 days, and the Bobcat fire is still burning in the Angeles National Forest. A NOAA weather satellite captured this image of wildfires currently burning across the state. More than 8,100 wildfires have burned 5,800 square miles in California this year.
You're losing track now. There's so many of them, you can't keep track,
Red flag warnings remain in place over much of the state through the evening. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Those images, they keep getting more and more intense. And you recall a few weeks ago, the National Weather Service reported that we were getting some of the smoke from those fires. We'll have to say if these latest rounds do the same. Guy was even saying last week some people were reporting to him some they were describing it as foggy conditions. Yeah. But right now, you look outside, looks pretty clear up except for those nice fluffy clouds over Punch Bowl there. Let's toss it over to Guy with an update on our weather.
How's it on this Monday? We were lucky to start the day with a few light scattered showers. Those showers are drying up and there's not much upstream, so it's going to be mostly dry for the rest of the day, save for a few minor splashes here and there. And trade winds will run nice and soft today from Maui all the way to Kauai. We'll get those trade winds coming out of the east-northeast. Lighter winds, Kona winds over in Kona, so it's going to be hot and sticky there. And we are expecting, though, a basically textbook trade wind weather day. There will be a few splashes this morning, fewer by midday, even fewer in the afternoon. High temperatures by midday running to about 91 degrees for some spots, especially warm in Kahului. Now, we still have some fun-sized surf on the south shore with a nice reinforcement that came in late in the day. That's going to settle down and slowly decline over the next several days. However, on the north shores, look for a big swell to pick up by Wednesday into Thursday. That will likely trigger high surf advisories. It's going to be a dangerous situation for north shores. Again, that's Wednesday into Thursday. So light trade winds today, drier conditions with lighter winds, variable winds from Tuesday all the way through Saturday. And that means high humidity levels are going to be very sticky, and we could get those afternoon showers, maybe even some isolated downpours. So get ready for some sticky weather over the next several days. We'll have more details on air and online.
There have been a lot of shark sightings recently, especially at Kaimana Beach, where another one was spotted today. Here's Billy V with more on what's going on.
Thank you very much. We're down here at Kaimana Beach where the sharks have been nearby, and there have been signs the last couple of days and yesterday. That's because bait balls, Honolulu, they're in the water, and so the sharks who migrate to the islands, they're of course having their young and they're feeling hungry, so they go out and feed. The reef-tip sharks who have been coming here to this beach, or that have been pretty close to this beach over the last couple of years that they've been seen, well, they've been seen a little bit closer to the shoreline than usual. Meanwhile, the fishing is good, and so this is one fisherman's bucket here. One fisherman tells us what he has been catching today.
Well, this is a real family-oriented beach, and a lot of swimmers and people who are training for triathlons and whatever swim here. So they've been making, first of all, losing a lot of lines, hooks, sinkers, things like that, which people have been getting snagged in and stepped on. There was an occasion where there was a gentleman swimming, and one of the fishermen, he got tangled in the line, and one of the fishermen got angry and picked up a rock and threw it at him, and the ambulance was here, cut his face, and the police and ambulance were here. There have been lots of incidences where these guys are casting purposely at people in the water.
In the meantime, the fishing here and the swimming continues. From Kaimana Beach, I'm Billy V for This Is Now.
Incredible videos there too, Billy. Thank you for that. A lot of people talking about that online. And this, we finally know the date for Amazon Prime Day. And that day is, stand by, let me pull up the video, October 13th and 14th. Yes, that's right, October 13th and 14th. Prime Day usually is held in July, and it's Amazon's version of Christmas in summer, really. I've used it before. A lot of people in this newsroom love this day. Again, it usually happens in the summer. This is going to be the first time it's happened in fourth quarter, so it's going to be competing with things like Black Friday and, those big return days after Christmas. So, again, that is October 13th and 14th. I'm saying it over and over again, so Ashley remembers me.
Are you going to be shopping for anything?
Yeah, of course, for you.
Oh, for me? Thanks.
Of course.
Awesome, thank you. This is what I found, you guys. So Taylor Swift has broken a new record. Her latest album, Folklore, just topped the Billboard 200 for the 7th week. That gives her a career total of 47 weeks at #1 on the chart. It also breaks the previous record for female artists. Jonathan, any idea?
I know, because I saw the story.
Oh, yep. Held by Whitney Houston. So
Whitney.
Taylor now beats Whitney, and in third place is Adele.
I hate to put you on the spot here, but Taylor or Whitney?
Oh, Whitney, obviously.
I'm with you. Team.
That's
I
not
love
even-
Taylor. Nothing against Taylor, but
Yeah, same. That's not even a hard question.
give her a
but-
few more years and a few more records to break, and I might change my mind.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of new Barbies lately, different ethnicities and different occupations to boost diversity. Well, this one is encouraging people to vote. It's a relaunch of Mattel's Shiro, get it? She-Hero, doll featuring activist and actress Yara Shahidi, and she's wearing a t-shirt that says vote. Mattel says the doll will be available to ship October 9th, just in time for Election Day.
I did not get that name. I read through that script too, and I did not understand
Shiro?
it.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. All right. We talked about this a few weeks ago. We showed some video from Japan of a flying car.
Right.
And now that's even coming more and more closer to reality.
Oh, boy.
We got aviation expert Chris Van Cleve, who's going to explain it all to us in our good news today.
The fantasy of the flying car may finally be getting off the ground. The Toyota-backed company SkyDrive recently showed off a short but successful test flight of the personal aircraft it's developing. Innovators around the globe are going to new heights to create personal aircraft in all shapes and sizes.
We're seeing quite a few companies investing a lot of money into this because the expectation is that by 2040, this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
CNET Roadshow's Tim Stevens says some are developing planes that double as a car, but increasingly prototypes take off vertically, no runway needed. That includes Uber's Elevate, basically ride-sharing for the sky.
Uber wants to develop hubs that would exist within major cities where you could basically go there like a train station sort of thing, go up to the roof, hop in one of these things, and then get out at the airport or maybe at some sort of station close to your home out in the suburbs.
Initially, a pilot would be at the controls, but the plan is for the aircraft to eventually fly autonomously.
Initiating takeoff on my mark. 3, 2, 1.
Plane maker Airbus is also working on an air taxi. We visited their test site in Oregon last year to see a flight, which only lasted a few minutes. One of the challenges will be developing better, lighter batteries that let these things fly farther and longer. Their goal is a remotely controlled 4-seat craft called City Airbus. But there's a major hurdle, establishing regulations to manage the airspace.
So a lot of questions need to be resolved before these things can really hit the air.
Uber is moving ahead and hopes to have a piloted aircraft by 2023. SkyDrive is working to launch its personal vehicle that same year. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Washington.
I'm going to wait for a few test flights on that one.
It's like the Jetsons.
Yeah, right? It's cool, though. It's cool. That's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday, guys. We got a press conference coming up at 1:30 with the city and UH. Look for an update on that on our H&N digital platforms. You guys have a great day.
Aloha.